Hello, Labbers. So today I thought that we could do a kind of laid back lecture, just kind of going over some of the places where I like to go to get my materials, how I like to lesson plan, and just kind of walk you through my process. Um, and there's no slides this week. I just kind of wanted to have the ability to talk to you guys, pull up my screen, and maybe share some different resources with you. And then at the end of this video, I'll just like put a link to everything in a Google Doc and put it on the website. Yeah, the Preschool Project Wix website, so you guys can reach those resources later. And yeah, I'm in bed, I'm cozy, it's a Sunday, so I thought that this would be a really just chill video to kind of wrap up our semester with. We will still have the option to have a lecture next week, so if you guys do have any topics that you think would be really interesting or fun, this is a topic that was suggested by a couple of you guys. So yeah, just let me know and we'll make it happen. It can be casual, it can be in depth, whatever works for y'all. So let me go ahead and start by prefacing sort of my experience with clients, because that's going to impact how I find my resources, right? So my undergrad, we actually did have clinic. And so I had quite a few students in undergrad. And my very first student, who is such a cutie, I loved him. We were working on a ton of stuff. Like this kid had so many goals, and could have had even more. And so what we liked to do, let me go ahead and share my screen now. And I'll just share my Chrome for now. So what we liked to do was go to lesson picks. And this is something that I don't think SDSU really pushes, but my undergrad really did. And it's life-changing. So let me go ahead and walk you through this. It's a really cheap resource. It's $36 a year. So what is that, like $3 a month, which for what you get from it is absolutely amazing. I'll go ahead and log in. Just so you guys know, if any confidential information pops up in some of my things that I've named, just know that all of this lecture is confidential. So if you do see any identifying information, please don't spread it. But also, I mean, not that you guys would know what these initials even stand for. Let me walk you through this website just to start off. So the reason why I love this website, there's a few reasons, but my number one favorite reason is for speech goals, not language goals. So I've mentioned this several times throughout this year that at Rosa Parks, we're not focusing on speech, we're focusing on language. That's really common for the preschool population because a lot of those speech sounds and phonological patterns, they're not going to be repressed or developed until in the elementary school years. So it's not something that we necessarily target that often. But for students who do have goals, this is just amazing. So say you're working on a kid with R sounds, right? So you can just look up anything like robot. And then you can just select the R and you can search for anywhere in the word. So it'll just pull up every word that has the sound R in it. So yeah, so you'll have it at the end for like ear or ray, row. You can just have everything, but you can also kind of specify if you want it in the beginning, in the middle, in the end, which is super great if you're having goals that are specifically for like initial R or medial R or final R. You can pull up all of those words. You can also find here, it'll list like the most common words that other SLPs are using for R in whatever context you search for. And so you'll be able to use that as well. And you'll see here that they also include words that aren't orthographically the same, right? So it's searching just for the phonological sound R. So you'll see here, like it'll have right, like WRITE, or wrote, WROTE, even though it has a W there, it's still going to pull up as initial R, which is super cool. It also blocks restricted images, which my undergrad friends and I, so immature, but we would always laugh about. If you like unrestricted, it'll show like just the weirdest things. So I always have that restricted because I don't want to see it. You can also search for like patterns, rhyming words, which is so helpful for preschool. I can't even stress that enough. I use it all the time when I'm teaching rhyming. Minimal pairs, which is great if you're having a child with a phonological pattern that you want to get rid of. So for example, if they're fronting or backing or have final consonant deletion, it's really helpful to pull up those minimal pairs so that the child can very explicitly see, oh, I'm saying the wrong word and people don't understand what I mean when I say this. So for example, I actually have a, let's see if I can just share my whole desktop and we can hang out. I'll move myself out of the way. So I do have a minimal pairs thing here that I love. But yeah, you can see, this isn't what I was thinking of, but it works. So you can see here, like they have at the top, you're either going to make an R or a W. So this is somebody who has a phonological pattern of gliding. And you can see here that there's words like red and wed. Or rich and witch. And so one game that we'll play a lot with elementary aged kids is we'll maybe do like matching cards. So we'll have them all upside down and they have to flip them over and be like, I found a witch, I found a rich. And if they say it wrong, hey, sorry, you said the wrong thing, you didn't find that, flip it over. Or we've been doing a lot with one of my preschoolers at my placement now. Doing hide and seek online because he's online right now, obviously, like everybody is. They're all coming back tomorrow though. And so what we've been doing is we'll pull up, and I can literally show you the resource. This is so cool that I'm just doing this. Look, it's right here. So you can see here that we'll have Baby Yoda. He loves Baby Yoda. And then we'll have two things. So we have a coat and a tote. This is a child who fronts. And so we'll have Baby Yoda hiding behind one of the things. And so we'll have him, the child, close his eyes and count to 5, and Baby Yoda's gonna hide. And then we'll put him behind one of the things while the child's like closing his eyes and counting. And then when he opens them, he has to be like, it's behind the coat. And then we'll look and, oh no, Baby Yoda's not there. Where do you think he is? And then he has to say, he's behind the tote. And then he finds Baby Yoda. But if he says the wrong thing, we pull whatever we hear. So he's a fronter, so he really struggles with making that k sound. And he's so cute. He tries so hard. So he'll be like, k, k, tote, which always makes me laugh. But whatever we hear him say, we'll look behind the tote and be like, oh, you said tote again. You said tote a third time. And it really helps because then eventually he'll be like, oh, behind the coat. And then we'll be able to search behind the coat for Yoda. And it's very motivating, very fun. We never make it like judgmental. It's very silly for him. And he loves it. So that's one way that we've been doing minimal pairs with Google Slides, which there's so many things you can do with Google Slides that hopefully will go away eventually because in-person therapy is more fun than teletherapy, in my opinion. Okay, so back to lesson picks. You're also able to search for keywords. So yeah, you can search for any word that you want. If you are looking for a word and you can't find one, you can literally just request it and their artist will make it for you, which is so cool. Like they'll add it to the whole system. And then they also have, I need to move this thing, you know, like the black box, like the black canvas box, not canvas, Zoom box. It's always in the way. Here you can search through a bunch of folders to find like groups of things. So you can see here that some of these are more helpful than others. For example, we're probably not going to use occupational therapy that much unless we're collaborating with an OT. Same thing for physical therapy. But it's really great for some things, and it makes it really easy to find resources. Such as like plurals. So if you're working on like plural S, that's a really great way to start for that morpheme. They have like token boards. Transportation is a huge one. So you'll be able to see here they have like planes and construction and boats and trains and everything that you could possibly want. And then as you're making your materials, you can select whatever you want. So let's say we're going to, I don't even know. Let's say we're going to do like a back to school unit, right? During the first week of school, and we're just going to be prepping a material to talk about the transition. Um, all of my spiders here. We're about to do a bug unit. And so I made a material that I guess I could pull up for you. Is it this one? Maybe? No. Basically what I did was here we go. So I have a child working on SPL and SKW right now. And so I found some SPL and SKW words on lesson picks, and I made one page of those. And then on the other page, I put a bunch of spiders and I made sure that it was the same grid. And then I printed off two-sided. So then when I cut through the grid, one side of the picture card has a word, the other side has a spider, and I put them all in a little bucket with the spider facing up. So the child has to reach through a piece of like a bunch of yarn over a box. And as they reach in, they have to reach in and pick out a spider, which is so creepy. And then they say whatever words on the back of the spider. And so that works for both the Arctic child, and then she's in a group with a child working on taking turns. So then that child is also able to practice taking turns with her. Which works out really well for the two of them. And yeah, that's just a super easy, like 1 minute lesson prep. That's so much fun for the kids. They're so hyped for it. I've done that game so many times before. Okay, so if I was going to make a material, let's say we're just going to talk about like different toys you might find in the classroom. So maybe we're going to talk about like Legos and Mr. Potato Head, maybe like all of the different things that you can put on Mr. Potato Head. Let's just do that instead of the Lego thing. So I can drag this Lego to delete it because I changed my mind. So we can grab like an ear, an earring, eyes, glasses, hair, a hat, right? Just all the things that you might need to talk about Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. And then I like giving options as well. Whatever you're going to utilize, it's usually pretty helpful to have an example, especially for kids with lower language, so they can point to exactly what they want. So then say we have all of these pieces, you can go to create materials and you can make dozens of things. Like I love this website because of this. So you could make picture cards, you could make like pictures next to words, you could make a picture schedule. So first we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. So for this one we could say first we're going to put on the eyes, and then we're going to put on the nose, and then the mouth, right? You can make name tags for the students. You could make a rating scale for how are you feeling, how loud is your voice, first then boards, which are so helpful. I like can't even stress it enough. You can turn it into a book or a story. You can make a rule book, an ask for book, certificates for like the end of the semester, or if they graduate speech. You could make a chart, you could make circle cards, you could make if you do this, then this, if you do this, then this. You have daily reports, which you can use to send to the teachers or the parents, or for older students, you could give it to them. door hangers for the speech room to say if you're busy or not, flashcards, greeting cards. Yeah, here we have happy birthday, Valentine's Day cards. That would be super fun for Valentine's Day. Hall passes for your students, what you're working for motivation. You could turn that into like a sticker chart so that once they have like a sticker on each of the boxes, then they get whatever reward they want. Here you have like you have like a big Christmas tree and then a bunch of little things that go with the Christmas tree. So maybe you turn it into a game. You could make picture cards with these items and like roll for them, or you have to add it to the tree, or you have to match it. Here, yeah, you have a matching book, so you have these picture cards and you have to glue them onto the big picture in the book. Big instructions, which is helpful, staying on topic, which is great for social communication, kiddos. These cards I actually really like. So it'll have like an overlaying card, and then there's like lots of different cards over, like a flip book. There's tally cards to keep track. Again, you could use this as like a sticker reward system. Task cards for what you're expecting of them. This is for data, which is super helpful for you. Giving options for like, if I'm feeling this way, this is what I can do. Wristbands, index cards, and just look at all this. Like, look, you can make communication boards. You can add stuff to like AAC devices. You can have coloring sheets and lacing cards and cutting lines. So you can like work on this stuff in conjunction with the OT, or if you want like a coloring sheet as a motivator. Or like these little writing pages if you're working on written expressive language. Like, that's so helpful. My favorite thing to use, other than the picture cards I probably use the most often, are games. So you can make bingo or playing cards, little dominoes, game spinners, game boards, adapted games. So you can like print off little images that you can put into the Guess Who things or headbands. I pretty frequently, the dice are really fun too. Yeah, like I wish we could go through this all day, and I wish you all had access to this, and I highly recommend that you do give yourself access to this if you have the $36 a year to spend, because it's just so great. Like, there's so much you can do with it. Yeah, like matching, finding things in the picture. This is one of my favorite things, right? So for example, we have all these words. We're going to put it in here. You can also like change the theme. So you could have a fall theme, a beach theme, a classroom theme, a fall tree, a falling picture, a forest. So all of these things, right? So you can really simplify it or make it as complex as you want. You can make it match whatever interests your child, or if you're following a certain theme that month, then it can be really helpful. So I'm going to say a classroom theme, because we were saying maybe it's a back to school type activity. You can make it black or white or with color. You can also change the font. I hate Comic Sans, so I'm just going to go to Arial. And then finish. And then it's going to turn all of these Mr. Potato Head things into an I Spy game. You can download it as a PDF, pull it up. And then, yeah, it hides all of the things around the room, right? So you're like, okay, let's find the bow tie. And it's right there. And let's find this cap. And it's hiding back there. Right? And so all of these little items are hidden around the classroom. And this can be a really great way to introduce items or to reinforce vocabulary that you've maybe talked about in books over the past week or so. Like maybe this is a fun game to play towards the end of the lesson that you guys have been talking about. So maybe you've been playing with Mr. Potato Head all week and you want to practice having them use the language like, I found eyes, I found an ear. Or maybe before you play with Mr. Potato Head, you want to prep them with like, oh, this is called a bow tie, this is called a cap, and just go over all of this language, and then follow it up with now let's find the cap in the thing. And then once you find all of the things, then we can build Mr. Potato Head, and you have to use that language with the Mr. Potato Head. So yeah, that's lesson picks. It is so freaking cool. I love it so much. And yeah, you can really customize it to be whatever you want it to be. Like I said, like all of these things, there's so many options for it. Like with these playing cards, you can go through and you could have it be like say and play or basic or circular or smiles. I really like using playing cards for elementary school kids for doing like go fish, right? And so it just prompts you to have to use the language a lot, right? Like, do you have that carrier phrase just set in, right? Like, do you have a smile? And then the other person has to be like, no, I don't have a smile. Do you have an earring? No, I don't have an earring, right? So there's a lot of modeling, there's a lot of taking turns, a lot of opportunities for that carrier phrase and plugging in the new vocabulary in there. I think that's a really fun game that I like to play a lot. I'll also make a lot of board games. And sometimes I'll even combine it with either the game spinner or the dice, because then you can roll and you have to move to the next symbol with that thing on it. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. You have to move to the next space with the symbol that you rolled, right? That's what I meant. And again, with these, look at how many options they have for all of the games that you could make, right? So you can make them long, you could do chutes and ladders, you could make it be like holiday themed, snake games, like it's so much fun. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I cannot stress it enough. And then finally, what I really like is that you're able to go to the sharing center and you can find what other people have made. So it can save you a lot of time. So here, like, look, they have Connect 4. Which is super cool. Like you don't even have to try to make that material. Like you just automatically have R Blends Connect 4. You can click on it, download it, and then you can use it with your students immediately. So we have Brain, Brick, Brown, Dragon, Dream, Friday, Brother, right? And so then you just take turns with your students with a dauber, or maybe like those little like token chip things that you played bingo at school with, and put them over so you can like laminate and reuse this material. And yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So that's my first thing that I would recommend you guys check out. Another thing that I do use a lot is Teachers Pay Teachers. And the way that I use this material is I will always just search by price ascending, right? And so you can search by grades. You can see here, I search a lot by like kindergarten and pre-K just because obviously that's the population I really like working with. All of my current students are preschoolers. So that's what I'm doing this semester and hopefully for the rest of my life. We'll see. I have yet to be hired. And so, yeah, you can search by ascending price and that'll give you all of the free materials. If you do want to pay and you find a cool one, like go for it, support people who make these. But I find that I'm able to find like really cool things just by searching through here. And I honestly, if I'm just like bored ever, like on the weekend or like, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I zone out during movies and I just kind of have them playing in the background. Like I'll just like hop onto Teachers Pay Teachers and scroll through and just see if anything new has been posted. And if anything like kind of piques my interest that I think I might want to download. But yeah, like right here, winter activities for kindergarten free. And I really like looking through just like sporadically because stuff like this, like holiday themed stuff will be free now because it's like springtime, nobody's looking for it. But once you get to the holidays, then everybody wants it. And so then you have to pay for it if you want it during the holidays. And so then that's sad. And so it's better to download now because then it's free. And so here you can see this is kind of more like a teacher-y activity, right? They're practicing writing a story, counting. So that's one thing that I would recommend is just like actually look through the material, see if it works for you. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. You can also search up here for like SLP, and then it'll pull up that. And yeah, see here, like it starts by relevance naturally. And it's like, I'm not paying $51. I'm sorry. I'm poor. So I'm going to sort by price. And then here you have like speech sound cue cards, which are super helpful. You have WH questions. This looks fun. I think I might even download this. Like, look, it's WH questions with a pizza party and it's a game. And that's super fun. And I'm actually going to download this right now. Okay. Welcome to my lesson planning. So yeah, that's fun. And you can see like all of the things that I have downloaded and have not sorted through yet because I just haven't. I went on a paid teachers thing, obviously on February 2nd and downloaded hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things. And I still have yet to go through all of that. Another really cool resource that I like for older students. So maybe you've realized you really want to go into speech pathology, but preschool might not be your jam. That's okay. It's not for everyone. You might be really into working with like middle schoolers or high schoolers. And one cool thing that I like to use for them is it's like home speech. Yeah. Home speech. And this speech language pathologist has literally the best wordless. Like they have all of these S's, S blends for like everything you could imagine. They break it down by initial and medial and final, and then they have it in phrases and in sentences for initial and medial and final. They have it in reading paragraphs. So this is just so helpful, especially if you have older kids like in middle school or high school that can read, because a lot of those students, they don't really want to be in speech anymore. They're like, this is stupid. Like, I just want to be able to talk already. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. And so a lot of them either are not motivated at all because they're like annoyed at life. Fair, same. But then a lot of them are super duper duper motivated because they're like, I just want to graduate from speech. I don't want to be bullied anymore for how I talk. And so this is super helpful for either of those kids because you can just have them be like, okay, we're going to say sit 5 times, soup 5 times, salt 5 times. And that can be like your warm up. And then you can go through and work your way up as they progress. You also could turn it into a game for younger kids. So if you're just looking to create like an S-word game, for example, like on lesson picks, sometimes I'll literally just pull up this list and then I'll just really quickly search those words on lesson picks instead of having to scroll through all of the options. And so maybe I'll just be like, oh, sun, that's a good one. Seed. Maybe we're working on like, actually in real life, we're doing a garden theme right now. So I might like go through and be like, oh, sun, seed, like maybe even sand or soft, like bugs can be soft, right? And I might just like go through and quickly search those words and turn it into a board game or picture cards or whatever I think the littles might enjoy. But yeah, I super love this website. She has like her and her husband, I guess. Yeah, Luke and Holly. They have like all of the sounds, like so many word lists, so many activities, just amazing resource there. So yeah, we have home speech, teachers pay teachers, lesson picks. I also really like Peachy Speechy. So she actually has these really cool videos and she also does have materials. And they're kind of more like elementary, but you can also get away with it in middle school. But she breaks down like artic fluency and language skills and explains exactly how to do certain strategies. And so if your students are ever just like sick of hearing you talk, like I was in 3 middle schools and a high school last semester for my adult placement. And sometimes the students get a little sassy and they're like, you know what, Miss Emily, I don't want to be here today. And I'm like, dude, same. Let's just watch a peachy speechy video and practice your strategies this week. And so you can just pull up and she'll explain what is stuttering. Let's talk about how to do easy onset and light contact. And she has all of these videos, so then you don't have to worry about it. And it can also just be supplementary to whatever you're working on. Another thing that I really have liked doing with the older kids, I told you this is a super casual thing today. It's just my brain working, is Kahoot, which I'm sure you guys have all done before in class. But you actually can have like search for, I can't remember where I searched for last time because I have not been in the middle school literally for a long time. But one thing that I would do is search for like fluency Kahoots, and they'll have like educational Kahoots. And a huge part of working with fluency kiddos is the education piece, right? So teaching kids how the speech mechanism works, why their speech is coming out as disfluent, because that can kind of take away some of the embarrassment or awkwardness that these students might feel. And so by educating them about, hey, this is what's happening, like these are some tools you can use in order to help yourself, but also there's nothing wrong with you. Like, this is who you are. It's okay to have disfluent speech. And that's a huge part of fluency treatment. So yeah, I like using Kahoots a lot for the educational piece. Another really cool resource is the New York Times. What picture thing? This one. And this one's super fun for like elementary and middle school kids, or even if you get up to like the mod kids in high school, they just think these pictures are so fun. So they show a picture, I think it's like either every day or every week, and the kids just have to kind of describe what's going on in the picture. So it's really great for language, for getting those long descriptions, for using conjunctions in language to make more complex sentences. But then it's also really great for inferencing, so that you can kind of see more about like, why can I not think of words right now? See more about how they're making their guesses and how their brain is working, and what are some things that they can look at to make inferences. And so for inferencing, there's kind of like two main things, right? So there's, can you find the details, and can you tie that to your background knowledge? And a lot of recent research has shown that usually it's because they don't have the background knowledge to make the inference. It's not that they can't find the details, but you always want to start off with that detail piece. And so I would have my students like look at this picture and be like, okay, describe to me like what's happening in this picture. Who do you see? What are they doing? And we would go through all of these prompts to describe the picture as much as we could. And then we would use our background knowledge of, hey, have you ever been in a situation where this is happening? Have you ever been in a situation where this is happening? Can you take the perspective of somebody else to make an inference, right? And so we would talk a lot about that, about finding the key details, the main idea, and then using that information to make an educated guess. Cool. So we would do that a lot. I guess another thing that I could do is walk you guys through my drive if anyone's interested. So I mentioned earlier that I do have a really extensively organized drive. Again, if you see any confidential information during this walkthrough, please disregard it and wipe it from your memory. So you'll see here that a lot of this stuff is just like my personal things. But if you go into this SLP Resources tab, I have things kind of broken down. So I have AC information, information on adults, on audiology, on broad diagnostic things that I might want, broad treatment things, counseling, working with diverse populations, fluency, language disorders, motor speech disorders, stuff that I haven't organized yet because I haven't had time recently. Phonology, picture supports, research articles, research methods, TBI, and voice. And so if you go into any of these folders, so let's go into phonology maybe. I have it broken down by assessment, research, and treatment. So research, I have a ton of research articles. These ones I actually did not get a chance to rename yet. So maybe this isn't the best folder to go into. But if I pull up like phonology, or not phonology, fluency, oh, I also didn't get to there yet. Wow, that's embarrassing. But yeah, I have like this set up so that this summer I can set myself up further for success. But yeah, here we go. So assessment. So I'm going to have example assessments that I got from my grad school peers, different examples of assessments that I use really frequently, parent handouts that I hand out frequently enough that I feel like I need them in this folder, a bunch of research. So this, yeah, here we go. These are the ones that I renamed. So in my early intervention, all of them are organized by their name, their year, and their title. I have it broken down by early intervention, preschool, and school age so that I'm able to really easily find whatever research article I need. Obviously, I still have some more work to do. And then I also have a bunch of things that I use for treatment. So here we have picture cards. So here are some adjectives that I use pretty frequently. Here are some CVCV words, which are helpful. And then we also have things like character inferencing. So this is something that maybe a middle schooler might benefit from. Or later elementary, we have expected versus unexpected behaviors. So this kind of gives you a blank thing, something that you can work through. So this kind of works. My middle schoolers loved this activity. So we would just come up with a random subject line and we would work together to come up with one, and then we would each take turns coming up with an expected or an unexpected behavior, and then we would think, I wonder what other people might think about me if I was doing this behavior. So if I was telling other students what to do, what might they think about me? And that just was really helpful for the students because it forces you to take perspective. And it's very explicit. Like they can see it, they can see exactly this is the time, this is what you're doing during the time, and this is how people are going to think of you if you're doing that. And it really breaks it down for them in an easy to understand way. And again, it's positive and constructive, right? So sometimes my students would come up with like ridiculously not ever going to happen in real life examples for unexpected behavior. So in this example, it's like running in the hallway, telling other students what to do. But sometimes if they were feeling silly that day, they would be like, ordering a pizza and eating an entire pizza in the hallway. But you have to roll with it, right? And be like, okay, you're right. That is unexpected. I would be so confused if I saw somebody doing that. Like, what do you think that, like what would you think if I was eating a pizza in the hallway? And they would think like, wow, like maybe somebody's thinking, wow, they're hungry, or where did they get that pizza? Or I wish I had a slice. I wonder if they'll share with me. And it just kind of sparks more discussion. So that's an activity that I really like. Here's a perspective taking one. So these are really cool cards that we modified by turning into a Google slide. I wonder if I have them. I think I need to go through and redo this now that I have a little bit of a different brain than I did 6 months ago when I originally went through and did this, because yeah, I think there's just so many more things that I've learned, and that's part of school, right? It's just like constantly learning and evolving and becoming better and coming up with ideas. Even this past week, I'm filming this on the 11th of April. And so this past week, we've been back in person with no kids. We've just been setting up the classroom and everything. And just like being in the classroom and like seeing how my supervisor sets things up has really inspired me for thinking like, oh, I really like how she does this, or oh, like I don't think I would do it this way. I think I would organize things a little bit differently. For example, like instead of putting a bunch of stuff in file folders, maybe I would turn it into like binder sleeves and put it in a binder and have it organized this way. And so it's a really just great opportunity throughout school to just constantly be evaluating like what you're doing. Like don't just be focusing on whatever like you think you should be learning. Just like constantly be open to new ideas and just always have your eyes and ears open to learn, because I feel like that's when I learn the most, is when I'm just sitting there and absorbing everything and I'm letting my brain kind of flow and get the creative juices flowing, so that I know what I want to do when I have my own classroom, which is so scary to think about. I'm actually going to go into the phonology folder again, though, because I did organize the treatment, just not the research. And so here you can see that I have under the treatment for phonology, I have R and S and backing and crafts. These are a couple of final consonant deletion, fronting, phonology. And you can see here, like I've used these bingo materials before for students, which has always been so fun, so fun. And then, yeah, I have a couple of themes, but like I was saying, like, I think that now I want to make like a whole holiday folder and uh, have stuff for the different themes that you might go through in a year. So even though like I would never explicitly talk about like Christmas, just because I don't think it's appropriate to push religion onto students, a lot of students do celebrate Halloween, for example, but you can also have that in like a fall theme, right? So maybe you talk about Halloween for like 1 week of the fall, but maybe the rest of the weeks you talk about like pumpkins or the leaves changing, or just other general things that happen in the fall. Same thing with like Christmas time. Instead of talking about Christmas specifically, like we'll talk a lot about, excuse me, I've been talking forever. We'll talk about like baking cookies or the change in weather, the snow, how it feels cold, what you might wear during the winter time. Maybe different treats that you'll see around, like candy canes. And what I have liked doing with the middle schoolers last semester was just talking about their traditions, right? So around this time, like what traditions does your family have? And a lot of students, like, yes, did celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, but it allowed this really open space for students to talk about their own family's traditions, because even the families who celebrated the same holiday didn't necessarily have the same traditions. And it kind of opened up the students' eyes into, oh, like other families do different things. And they were able to learn about different cultures and even different traditions within their own culture. And it was just like really cool. And for example, like the Day of the Dead, like I've never celebrated that before, and a lot of my students hadn't before, but a lot of my students had, and so they were able to kind of share about what they did over the weekend when we met back on Monday, and talk about what their family's traditions were. And it was really great, because then the students who don't celebrate were able to ask them questions, and it didn't come off as like a judgmental activity. It was a way to practice asking questions about an unfamiliar topic, to practice turn taking, to practice topic maintenance. And it was just really beneficial for everybody. So that was a complete tangent that I went off on. So for example, I also have in here like different charts of when sounds are supposed to come in. I have ways to help you select what sound to target. I have notes from class for like a random reason that I probably will get rid of this summer when I go through and redo this. And so, yeah, I would just really recommend that you guys, whenever you do get a break, just maybe try to start organizing your stuff, because even though you're gonna hit a point in your life like me where you're gonna be like, oh, like this is a really good start, but I think I want to do it a little bit differently, at least then you know that like all your materials have a name. Because like, for example, all these files here, like, oh my gosh, like this is so much. And so if you're able to just like rename these, that's going to be really helpful for you to get started, because then you can search the drive for it. But then you can also think about it. Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Cool. Cool. I'm going to rename this right now, real time. I feel like we're on like a live stream or something, even though it's not a live stream and nobody's watching me right now and I'm just talking to myself. Okay. So let's see. When I was talking earlier, I was talking about pragmatics and about like perspective taking or problem solving. So here's one thing that we came up with when we were working with the students. If I can find it, there's so many things in here. And so we broke down like, what is a problem, big versus small problems, what are the steps in solving a problem, when to get an adult, and then we would walk through an example. So we would give something like, you're at a park with a friend, you want to play on the playground, but your friend wants to play football. And we would talk about, what is the problem? What is your friend thinking? What's a good way to solve this problem? And why is that a good way to solve this problem? And the reason why we laid out these specific questions is because it forces them to do perspective taking here. So like, what are all the other people in this scenario thinking about? And then we have this why, and that just kind of forces them to really think about like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, I know that this is the answer, but is this the answer because everybody's told me the answer? Or is this my answer because this is genuinely what I think is right or wrong? And after we would walk through all of this, we would role play. And the kids at the beginning of the semester hated this. They were so uncomfortable. But by the end of the semester, this is one of their favorite activities. Because they were basically just making fun of me, which is I'm fine with. But they would be like, so I'm just gonna make up names. I'll use my name, Emily, and my dog is Pippa. And be like, so Pippa, you really want to go play football? And the other one would be like, yeah, I really do. I don't like playing with Miss Emily. But then that was a really great thing, because then we're able to talk about like, hey, was that a think it or say it moment? Like, if you don't like somebody, do you think it, or do you tell them that you don't like them? And so, yeah, I really liked this activity, and the students ended up really liking it too. Another activity that I really liked was the Christmas one, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to find it right now, or if I even saved it, and I don't think I did. But one activity that we did that I absolutely loved was this Christmas activity, or like holiday activity. And so we would play like a holiday movie. For example, we did Elf for one of them, and we would show like that scene when Elf is like in the store singing. And I'm gonna pull it up right now because why not? And here, and so we would no, there isn't. I don't think I'm sharing my sound, but I'm singing, I'm in a store. And then we would pause it and we'd be like, okay, like look at her face. Like, what do you think what do you think she's feeling right now? What do you think she's thinking right now? What do you think he's feeling? What do you think he's thinking? And then we would keep playing and the students would laugh. And we would look at the change in their behavior, and we would be like, okay, look at their faces, look how they change. I'm in a store. How did they feel before? How did they feel after? What do you think they're thinking right now? And then we'll think like, was this an expected behavior or an unexpected behavior? And how can he modify this behavior to be more expected instead of unexpected. And that was really fun for the students as well. I think that might be where I stop it today, because I feel like I've been talking for like 20 hours straight. And I might even have to edit this video. I literally never edit these videos, but I might have to for this one. But yeah, if you guys do have any questions, or if you have any materials that you want to share, feel free to comment on this blog post. I think you're able to do that. And coaches as well, if you have anything that you want to share, comment it, or just share with your small group. Maybe even I can make the Google Doc editable and people can add stuff to it. And so then we can sort of start building this resource for everybody to have access to these materials, and maybe feel a little bit more prepared going into grad school or as a SLPA, if that is what you're going to be doing with your life. Again, let me know if you have anything that you want to talk about next week. And if not, we can skip the last lecture. The end of the semester party is coming up, I know. So hopefully the party committee has something super fun planned. I bet they do. I hope to see you guys all there. And I think that's where I'm going to end it today. Thank you guys so much for joining me and having this more chill, laid back, conversational materials lecture today. Thanks.